Hello everyone, welcome to another 2024 election prediction, and this one's pretty special because we have a third-party candidate, and that is Dwayne Johnson. Now, if you've been on the 2024 Wikipedia page, you know that Dwayne Johnson, Howard Stern, and Andrew Yang are dubbed as potential third-party nominees. Of course, Andrew Yang for the Forward Party, but Howard Stern and Dwayne Johnson, Dwayne Johnson has made comments hinting towards a 2024 run from the independent party, saying that he doesn't really care about parties. He rather wants to help Americans. He wants to help the average, everyday American. And that, like the Trump appeal in 2016, would be pretty powerful. Of course, less powerful because he is a third-party candidate, so he doesn't have that Democratic or Republican vote, these people who are not switching sides. Now, his two opponents are Donald Trump, being the Republican nominee and former president of the United States, and Joe Biden, the incumbent president. Now, these two are extremely unpopular. Trump after January 6th, Biden, most Americans just do not approve of the job that Joe Biden is doing as president. And Biden is a little less popular than Donald Trump, I do believe, but I think it's pretty close. So let's go right into it. Let's see. This is going to be very interesting. There's not going to be many safe states. There will be more for Donald Trump. Because of Dwayne Johnson, he just throws everything off. Now, he's like a Trump figure. I think if Trump ran as an independent in 2016, then he would have been very powerful. I do not think he would have won. I think Hillary Clinton would have won if Donald Trump ran third party. And we'll see how Dwayne Johnson does, but I do think that overall he's going to steal more votes away from Biden just because he's going to steal a lot of African Americans away from Biden. He's going to steal a lot of African Americans to Biden, and that could shift the election into Donald Trump's hands because some African Americans will stay with Biden, but most will go with Dwayne Johnson, and that will ultimately split the Democratic vote. Going to Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana, these are four states that I don't see flipping. I think these four states are going to go to Donald Trump. Dwayne Johnson will not do well here. Joe Biden will not do well here. These will go to Donald Trump. Same with North Dakota and South Dakota. Nebraska at large. Nebraska's first, and Nebraska's third. I think Nebraska's first will flip into that solid column rather than likely. I think Kansas will flip back into the solid column for the Republicans. In Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Missouri. Remember, these are states, with the exception of Arkansas and Louisiana, because they have a high African-American population. These are all states where Dwayne Johnson will not do well. Remember, Dwayne Johnson will do better in traditionally Democratic states, in states that have more cities, that are more intact with today's pop culture, if that would even make a difference. I see Dwayne Johnson doing pretty well in the states of Mississippi and Alabama, but because Biden will still take some African Americans, I don't see them flipping into the likely column. I think these will stay solidly for Donald Trump. Tennessee and Kentucky, same thing. These will be solid states for Donald Trump. I see Dwayne Johnson doing it especially well in the state of Indiana. This is a state that's growing more liberal, state that is growing among young people. More young people are moving to the state of Indiana. Even with the split Democratic vote, even with Dwayne Johnson stealing votes away from Biden, I think this will be a likely state for Donald Trump. And remember, in 2024, Mike Pence will certainly not be on the ticket with Donald Trump. He is a major reason why I went solidly for Donald Trump in 2020, and it was close to becoming likely. But the main reason is he had Mike Pence on the ticket with him. And remember, this was an Obama state in 2008, and it flipped into the Republican column in 2012. Anyway. All right, moving on to the state of South Carolina. This is a state where Dwayne Johnson will do very well, but because of that split vote, Biden will take votes from him. It's as simple as that. Dwayne Johnson, I will overall steal more votes from Biden than Trump, as I said before. I think this will be likely for Donald Trump. It will not be solid, and I don't think it will be lean. I think it's going to be close to lean. I think we could see 6 to 7% for Trump, but I see Dwayne Johnson outperforming Biden in the state. I think people will underestimate how good Dwayne Johnson will do in 2024 if he runs, like how many people underestimated Trump in 2016, right? All right. Dwayne Johnson and Joe Biden, both of them I don't see doing very well at all in the state of Alaska. I really do see this state flipping back into the solid Republican column, just because Johnson will win some votes here, and I think it would be enough, another 6 points margin for Trump, and I think it would be enough for him to carry the state. I see Dwayne Johnson doing pretty well in the state of Hawaii. To be honest, I really do. However, it's too Democratic to go anywhere else. This will be a Biden state. I will make it likely. I think it's just going to be over that likely margin. I think it's just going to be over 5%. But I do think it's going to be likely, and that really is something. Okay, now moving on to California. This is a state with even a split Democratic vote. Donald Trump cannot win it. All right, it's really impossible for Donald Trump to win it. So it really is a contest between Biden and Johnson. But just like Hawaii, I would say it's too Democratic to shift. I really do think so. I think it's too Democratic to shift. I'm going to give it to Biden by a likely margin. Johnson will take a large chunk of votes here, and I think it would be enough to, shift it into that likely Democratic column. Oregon. I think Dwayne Johnson would do extremely well in the state of Oregon. This is a state with many young progressives, young college-educated progressives who want change. This where Trump did surprisingly well in 2016, right? Hillary won it by, let's see, we could actually see here, Hillary Clinton won it by only 11 points, right? So I see Dwayne Johnson doing very well. I don't see it flipping, however. I think it will stay with Biden. I think it's going to be very close. I'm going to make it a lean margin. It's not going to be tilt, and it's not going to Trump either. I don't see it going to Trump. But at this point in time, I see Biden winning it, but with Dwayne Johnson running, it will be very close. Washington, I don't see him doing very, very well in. Let's go to 2020. Biden wins it by 19 points. I mean, Johnson needs to edge another 5 points off of Biden's votes from 2020, and really I do see Dwayne Johnson doing that. Washington will be likely for Joe Biden. Alright, moving on. Let's go to the east here. Alright, and let's just keep the map like this. Last call for the Google form. Again, that Google form that I put out for my 2024 election. Subscriber decided election night. So if you want to decide the election night, do that Google form for whoever. It's really fun. But yeah, fill that out. Maryland and Delaware are two states that I don't see Dwayne Johnson doing particularly well in, and that means Biden victories. For the first time in this prediction, I think Biden will win these states by a solid margin. Maryland and Delaware being his home state, I think that he could win both of these states by a solid margin. Now, moving on to the state of New Jersey, I think Dwayne Johnson could do pretty well here. I don't think it's enough to go to him, and I definitely don't think it's enough to go to Donald Trump. I think this will go to Biden, but it's definitely going to be a likely margin. New York, I see, again, like New Jersey, like Oregon, Dwayne Johnson will do well here. In New York City, I see him doing very well. Saying that Andrew Yang lost the governorship of a former, maybe of a former isn't the type of guy that New York really wants. I don't see Dwayne Johnson winning here. I think Biden will carry the state. I think it's going to be by a likely margin. Same goes for Connecticut. Go to 2016. Really, all these states that went, or all these northeastern states that went likely for Hillary Clinton, are going to be likely for Biden once again, with the exception of Delaware due to the fact that Biden's home state is Delaware and more people will turn out for him here than Hillary Clinton. Go to New Jersey, Connecticut, Maine's first. These are all states and a district that I think will go likely for Joe Biden in 2020. I mean, New York only went to Clinton by 22.6%. Go to 2020, 23.1%, slight increase. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. But Maine's first, which Hillary Clinton won by a likely margin in 2016, I think will go likely for Biden once again. Maine at large, I think Dwayne. Yeah, I think it's going to be lean because I think Dwayne Johnson would do especially well here, and I think that Trump has an opening to win here. But really, I don't see it. I think it will stay with Biden. Now, Maine second has a history of not voting for the reformer candidate, but being close to. Go to 1992. Clinton only wins it by 4.4% over the independent candidate, Ross Perot, a reformer. And 1996 he comes in third because Ross Perot did worse in every state in 1996 rather than 1992. He was extremely weaker. But anyway, but they do have a history of voting for the reform candidate because this district, and people forget about this, has young progressives who voted for Trump in 2016, and many stuck with Trump. Not many more, but many of them did stay with Donald Trump in 2020. I see Dwayne Johnson, just because the state or this district has so many young people, I think Dwayne Johnson will win here. It's going to be very narrow. I'm going to make it a lean margin. I think this is just going to be over 1%. It's not going to be tilt yet, but I do think that this would be a very close state. Moving on, and Biden has taken the lead. He has a shot here. He's about to pick up some more, but we have to get to Texas still. Going to Rhode Island, I think Biden would win by a likely margin here. I think Dwayne Johnson would do okay here. But Massachusetts and Vermont are two states that are so Democratic that they are not going to change. I see these two states sticking with the Biden presidency. Illinois, I think this will be another likely state for Biden. It's not ready to flip to either Johnson or Trump. I don't think Johnson will do particularly well here. I think it's going to go to him. All right, we have many states left. I see Dwayne Johnson doing pretty well in New Hampshire, and going back to 2016, not 2020. But this is a state that's virtually tied. Clinton wins it by 0.37%. Really, that's practically nothing. Wish it told me the exact votes to see how many thousand she won it by, but in 2016, this was virtually tied. And Biden is going to be just as unpopular as Hillary Clinton in 2016. But with the addition of Dwayne Johnson, who will take slightly more votes than Biden than Trump, not so much in a state like New Hampshire, rather more states like Michigan and the South, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia. But still, he will take more votes from Biden than Trump. I think this will flip into the Trump column. Of course, it's going to be narrow. It's going to be by a lean margin. But really, at this point in time, with Johnson as running as an independent, I think Trump will carry the state of New Hampshire. All right, moving on. Where should we go next? How about we go southwest? All right, Dwayne Johnson will do well in the state of Nevada. So will Biden. Go to 2016. They go with the establishment candidate, Hillary Clinton. Go to 2020. They go with the establishment candidate, Joe Biden. Rather than Donald Trump, the kind of less official kind of guy. But many people will vote for Dwayne Johnson in the state of Nevada. I could see young progressives turning out for Dwayne Johnson a whole lot. Rather, those young progressives who voted for Biden in 2020. Many of them will leave the Biden column to go to Dwayne Johnson. I think Trump will carry the state of Nevada because of that. I think there will be a severe split Democratic vote. I see it being a lean margin. Make that likely. I think this will be a likely margin. I think Trump will, just because of how good Dwayne Johnson will do well, or how good Dwayne Johnson will do here. Dwayne Johnson, Arizona is less of a progressive state. They're more of a moderate state. Less young progressives here. I don't see Dwayne Johnson doing as well here. Because of that, Biden will do a bit better. Trump will win the state ultimately. I would say Trump would win the state even with Dwayne Johnson out of the race. Just because of how unpopular Biden is, Trump will carry the state. And now it's getting closer. Moving on to New Mexico and Colorado, I see Dwayne Johnson doing very well in the state of Colorado. I mean, did Ross Perot do well here? He didn't. He wins 23% of the vote. I mean, that is better than most states. Well, not really. Yeah, he actually did okay in many of these states. I mean, this is a progressive state. Sure, it's pretty purple, but the Democratic side is very progressive. This is a Bernie state. Bernie won this in 2016, and I believe 2020, but I can't be sure. But I could see it going for Dwayne Johnson, but I mean, really, just because of its larger population rather than Maine's second district, maybe not. But I do think he would do well enough here to. I think he would take votes away from Trump and Biden. I do. I really do. I think he would take votes away from Trump and Biden, but obviously a bit more for Biden. He would take away a bit more votes from Biden rather than Trump. But so I think that Biden will carry the state. It's going to be very narrow, not a lean margin, but a tilt margin. I'm making this state a tilt margin for Biden. Dwayne Johnson will do very well here. Dwayne Johnson will also do very well in the state of New Mexico. And this is a state that went less for Biden than New Mexico. Right when 2016, it's actually flipped. New Mexico goes more for Clinton than Hillary Clinton. So that shows you the kind of unpledged, party voters here. Anyway, New Mexico. Alright. I think this will be a Trump state. Dwayne Johnson will do pretty well here. This is going to be tilt margin either way. But I think Trump can narrowly pull out a win here. I really do. I think Dwayne Johnson will do well enough here to really split that Democratic vote. Unlike Colorado, I don't think he's going to take many votes away from Trump. And I think that Trump will be able to narrowly carry the state. Now, going to Texas, I think Dwayne Johnson can do well, can win the state. I think he has a shot at winning the state of Texas. I mean, here's my example. Remember Andrew McConaughey? How people wanted him to run for Texas governor? How so many people wanted him to? But most importantly, remember how he led Abbott and Beto in polls? He led them, and he would have run as an independent, and polls showed that he would have beat them, and that is amazing to me. I think that Dwayne Johnson will win the state of Texas if he runs. I really do, just because of McConaughey. Remember that. As an independent, he was not only beating Abbott and O'Rourke, he was crushing Abbott and O'Rourke. Texas wants a reformer candidate, and Dwayne Johnson can turn out minorities, Latinos, and African Americans alike. Latinos make up 50% of the population. African Americans make up 10%. White people are a minority in Texas, and Dwayne Johnson can turn out those people, those 2018 Beto voters. Texas will go lean for Dwayne Johnson in this prediction. Moving on. Nebraska's 2nd district. I think it will flip back to Trump. I really do. I think it's going to be a lean margin. I mean, this was a Biden district in 2020, but with Dwayne Johnson, I think it could flip back. In Iowa and Ohio are two states that I see, that remember in 2020, from 2016 to 2020, these are two states that shifted very little to the left. From 2016 to 2020, they shifted very little. With the addition of Dwayne Johnson, I could see if Obama was able to carry these two states, I could see Dwayne Johnson doing very well in these two states. Not enough to beat Trump here, who is very popular in these two states, but it would. I think he could outperform Biden in in both of these states. Really, Johnson's going to outperform Biden in many of these states. Really, he is. Minnesota, I mean, going to 2016, if Clinton could only win it by 1.5%, and remember what I was saying, Joe Biden is about as popular as Hillary Clinton in 2016, or unpopular, I should say. So with the addition of that, Dwayne Johnson taking votes away from him, and being as popular as Hillary Clinton, where Hillary Clinton only won it by 1.5%, I think this could be a Trump state. I really could. but I do think it's going to be extremely narrow. I think Trump would win this. I'll make it a tilt margin just to be safe. I think it will be less than 1%. All right, moving down to Florida, Dwayne Johnson will do well here, but Trump and DeSantis are so popular here that it won't be any contest. But with that split Democratic vote, Dwayne Johnson is going to take many votes from Biden, many votes from Trump, but more than Biden, especially in this state. I do think that Trump will turn Florida likely for himself. Likely. That's very impressive. But hey, it's just my prediction. Johnson will do well in Georgia and North Carolina. Again, that splits that Democratic vote. Georgia will be lean for Donald Trump. North Carolina will be lean for Donald Trump. I think Dwayne Johnson would outperform Joe Biden in both Georgia and North Carolina. I really do, but in the end, I do think Trump would be able to pull out a win. Biden would win in Washington, D.C. Sorry, forgot to fill that one out. In the state of Wisconsin, I think Dwayne Johnson would do pretty well here because these rural areas I could see him doing okay. These generally conservative areas, they want a reformer candidate. It will split the Democratic vote. I see Trump doing pretty well here. I think Trump will win it by a lean margin. In the state of Michigan, Dwayne Johnson, this is one of the best states Dwayne Johnson will do. Really? It is. But Biden will turn out some African Americans. We have to remember that. Biden will turn out some of them. Not many, but some of them. And Michigan, it's going to go to Donald Trump. If he won in 2016, then he will in 2020. And Biden is as much unpopular as Hillary Clinton. I think this will be tilt. Dwayne Johnson will surely outperform Biden in this state. But Trumpian Republicans still will turn out for him. And what can I say? I think it's going to go to him. And now, look how the tides have turned. Trump is now absolutely crushing Biden. All right, moving on to Virginia. I see Biden carrying this state by tilt margin, just because I don't see. I think of highly educated white adults who were happy to vote for Hillary Clinton in 2020, in 2016. Hillary Clinton won the state by a likely margin. And that means that, that doesn't really fit the description for Dwayne Johnson's supporters. Reformers are going to vote for Dwayne Johnson's, not necessarily people who really adore establishment candidates. Virginia, I think, will stay with Biden. I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be a tilt margin. And then in Pennsylvania, that same thing, split Democratic vote. I think Trump will come out with a win here, and I think it's going to be a lean margin. So this is my final map. I know it's extremely interesting. So Trump wins with 292 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 207. So Biden loses by 85. Yes, he loses by 85 electoral votes. Pretty, kind of big margin. But then Dwayne Johnson wins 39 electoral votes. So thank you for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you all for the next video. And make sure to fill out that Google form. Bye.